Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Hide your daughters. This is Planet Skull.
We've got Chris.
I will brook your perfidy no longer.
And I'm Kia. Welcome to the show. Vince, I knew someone was going to use that quote. I'm glad you did.
I also had Back from the Dead and Ready to Party. That was my other one. So
that's a good one too. We are that quote's from Earth X, which we're going to be reading a little bit later in the show. But our main read for today is going to be some Avengers comics from 1998 by Kurt Busiek when they relaunched it with a new #1. Right after the whole Heroes Reborn, Heroes Return thing when they were gone from. Well, okay, we'll get into all that. I guess we can get into it now. What else are we doing, right? We're here to talk about comics.
Sure.
Let's do it.
It does come up in this story. Yeah,
it's pretty important. Yeah. So what happened? Late 90s, mid 90s, Age of Apocalypse, and then Onslaught, and then all the heroes disappeared, and they thought they were dead.
Yeah, all of the Fantastic Four and the Avengers all disappeared, and it was an opportunity for Marvel to relaunch all of Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Captain America, and the Avengers with issue #1s. And it was also Image Comics, which had separated from Marvel. I guess they hadn't separated. The creators had all left Marvel about 6 years earlier. It was like, hey, you can all come back and have an issue 1 and make a lot of money for us. So it was Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld came back, and it lasted a year. It was not very good.
That's where that terrible Captain America drawing comes from, right?
Yes, that's where the Captain America drawing of him like shirtless, where he has like, I don't know, like a size 60 chest.
Yep.
Now, to be clear, you're talking about like the year when they were disappeared, where they were like actually on this other planet, and they got these other creators to come in and do like, hey, what are their lives like over here on this planet?
Yes, and that was a restart of everything. A new issue 1 for like, Fantastic Four and all these other series that were in the 400s to be like issue 1, check it out. And
now, I thought those were meant to be limited series. Like we're just going to see a year of this alternate universe with these folks, and then they're going to come back. But no, are you saying the plan was for it to be like a longer thing, and it just like
it was intended to be a new ongoing. Rob Liefeld was fired after I think 5 or 6 months, and so it was like, well, clearly this isn't going to last. Jim Lee Studios is now doing all of the books. This was before Jim Lee was hired by DC, so it was not long for anything, and so they wrapped it all up in a year and had them all come back. And then they relaunched it, and they got George Perez, who we've read some of his art back in the Korvac saga back in the 70s, who had done Teen Titans and a bunch of DC comics for the last like 18 years or whatever. And they brought him back to Marvel, and they were like, hey, he can be the artist, and we're going to actually make a good Avengers comic.
Well, great. None of that stuff that happened while they were gone is too important, other than like the regular Marvel universe kept going for a year without them, and like the Thunderbolts happened there, and that's really all I know. I guess some other stuff probably happened.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And then all of the Norse gods disappeared in Journey to Mystery, which I did not read, and I don't know what happens, but it is referenced in this comic.
But yeah, there was a big event. The heroes came back, and now it's kind of back to a nice little fresh restart point here. And as you mentioned, Kurt Busiek writing this, George Perez on art. What a classic team here. Classic comics.
Pre-uniting the JLA Avengers book we already read.
Yes.
Because they would write that like 6 years later, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like 2002 or 3, somewhere in there.
And we've already read something from this run. Was Perez on the art for this when we read Ultron? Like that was our second episode almost.
Yes, we did. Yeah, 3 issues of fighting Ultron way back. And you guys were like, who are all of these people? Because they hadn't all been in movies. You're like, Ms. Marvel, I've never heard of her.
Now we know. Well, hey, come on now. Now we know all.
No,
of them.
it was Justice. And Justice.
Yeah, Justice was the big one. That you're
Justice,
I'm still.
No idea.
I'm fine with Justice.
Is my best friend now.
Yeah, I'm fine with Justice. I mean, his name is Vance, which is close to my name, so I'm happy with him.
That's right. We discussed this back then, I'm sure.
He's an attractive redheaded girlfriend, so you approve of Justice.
Yeah, I do.
Yep. All right. Well, let's jump into the story here. We'll have so many little side characters. These are dense books. There's going to be a lot to talk about here. But we've got Wanda, the Scarlet Witch. She's eating at a restaurant with her brother and his family. It's Quicksilver. his wife Crystal of the Inhumans, and their daughter Luna, whose character design is kind of not what I expected from an Inhuman little girl. She looks very country, doesn't she? I don't know. But they get attacked by the flying trolls of Thryheim, something like that. Not important. And former Avengers all over the world are getting attacked. Black Panther gets attacked by some flying dino-looking thing. Hawkeye gets attacked by a Minotaur named Mutorus, which I think is a great name. Hawkeye doesn't like it. We got friend of the show, Moondragon.
Yeah. What up, girl?
She's in this a lot. She's in it a decent bit, I guess. She gets attacked by this boar dude. I like this boar dude's design a lot. I found
him a little boring.
Come on. But there's tons of. We see at least like 20 heroes all getting attacked. Namor, Hercules, Spider-Woman, She-Hulk. There's everybody.
Darkhawk.
They're all getting
star of Madam Web, Spider-Woman.
Yes.
Yeah, is that Sydney Sweeney?
That's Sydney Sweeney. Yep.
Hey, she's popular.
I mean, sort of.
She hosted SNL last week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Spider-Woman, the second most important character in Madam Web.
I see. She's not important in this story at all.
Not her friend Ben, who's having a brother?
No, not Adam Scott doing nothing and then becoming an uncle.
God damn it. All right. So all these heroes are getting tired of the fighting. They're getting overwhelmed. And then all the bad guys just vanish. And then we see chapter 1. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. This is first issue. It's going to be a supersized one. We got chapters. There's a news story recapping how the Avengers broke up after the whole Onslaught thing and the heroes disappeared. But they're back in Avengers Mansion. There's like a meeting happening with all the original Avengers happening in there. Well, Hulk's not there. And also Thor's not there because nobody knows if he returned when all the other heroes did. And they're in there talking. Who do we have? Cap, Iron Man, Hank, and Jan. I think just the 4 of them, right? Jarvis too. They're saying, hey, all these attackers were definitely Asgardian. There's some kind of link. Iron Man is also a little pissed that they disbanded the Avengers while they were missing. And Cap's like, we'll talk about that later. But that is kind of messed up that none of these other heroes were like, okay, we'll make some other Avengers. They all just disbanded them.
The Avengers' hold on parliamentary procedure is very weird to me, which we're going to get more into a little later. But
there is. Yeah.
It is very funny, how much it's like it is a special clubhouse and they get to decide who's in it.
Yes.
And no other. I don't think the Fantastic Four have we weren't here. Like, of course we disbanded. Then we got back together. Like how dare you break up the band just because we were off world? It's like, yeah. Like Oasis can't exist if half of Oasis is on that Counter Earth or something.
That's true, but if there were 80 members of Oasis and 4 of them died and we had like an emergency where we needed an Oasis show, you don't think somebody could step up?
But just imagine if Black Widow was leading a team with like Hercules, Quasar, other people. Great. You're like, yeah, this book's gonna be great.
Yeah. So Thor bursts in through the window looking all haggard and crazy-faced. His face here actually looks incredible. I love how just insane he looks with his eyes. And he, there's a storm, and he bursts through, and they're all kind of trying to hold him up, and he's like, no, I'm strong enough. Earth is doomed. And he's like talking about how they're too weak because they're mortals, but he needs help. And of course, everyone is still in, even though he hasn't actually said why Earth is doomed or what's going on. But they're like, we've got your back, Thor. It's. I'm not making it sound sweet, but it's sweet. And they put their hands in, and they let the cry out there. Avengers assemble, and it's like, oh, it's kind of a nice, sweet moment for a number 1. This is a very sweet book, I think. For maybe, I don't know. There's some not sweet stuff in here.
It's good. Yeah, I do. This is a good look on Thor. You should just keep the beard.
It is. I love this beard and the cross eyes. I think that's my favorite part.
Later, when he shaves, Jan is like, "Oh, you look so good without a beard." I'm like, wrong.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly what I said. All right. So, chapter 2, Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch show up to the mansion. Hawkeye goes to put in his key card, and he's like kind of flirting with Scarlet Witch, but not really. And then Quicksilver dashes in front of him to beat his key card into the slot. Haha, got you, Hawkeye. And then there's a giant splash page where everyone has gathered at the mansion. I'm saying this now.
It's a card where you actually like put it into the slot. It's not like an NFC token or anything. It's not like a tap.
No, you don't hold it up. You don't. They didn't have to have technology in the late '90s. They had to slide it in. But this is our first big splash page, and there's tons of splash pages throughout all 6 issues here. It's like constant. There's Avengers everywhere. I counted 36 heroes in the splash page. It's pretty well laid out with like, who do we got? Black Widow, Beast, Spider-Man, Sandman is there. I guess he's good.
Reserve member of the Avengers, Sandman.
Mm-hmm. It took me a while to figure out who this dude was floating in the wheelchair that looks like Professor X's wheelchair, except this dude has hair and we can only see him from the back. Yeah, I was staring at this picture until I read the caption underneath.
It's Rick Jones.
It was Rick Jones.
I definitely, of course, because he's in that like yellow floating hover chair that Professor X has from the cartoon. And I'm like, did Professor X get DH'd? Is that why he's here? That's what I was thinking at first. And then my favorite is Carol Danvers, who looks like she's got red skin, so she looks like Red She-Hulk with a Ghost Rider face and like flames all around her. Like they would never do that to Carol Danvers ever again. Like from like now on, they would never like fuck her costume that much.
I mean, literally, this is the last issue you're going to see that costume.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. She loses those powers.
Yeah, is this binary or a different name, or she's still just Ms. Marvel?
She is technically binary, but yeah, she's about to give up that name.
Yeah. So she's going through some changes in her life for sure.
Binary is the name that's said in the post-credit scene of the Marvels movie, by the way.
Yes. Again, you mentioned that to me, and I was like, this meant nothing to me as a fan of the comics and Carol Danvers. I was like, yeah, she's binary. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And in this alternate universe, Monica is binary. Okay, don't care.
With a character from this splash page. But I'll leave my spoiler at that.
Oh yeah, Photon. Yeah.
Yep, she's also there. There's also Darkhawk, which I love to see. I don't know why Darkhawk got invited to this meeting.
Yeah, there's a few people who like showed up, and like some of the new Warriors are there. Like, what? You're not on this team. You're a different team. Spider-Man's there. There's a D-Man is there who, as far as some of the other Avengers are concerned, he's just some homeless dude sitting there eating a sandwich, and he smells bad. And they make a lot of jokes about that. We have what else is there? I guess that's all of it.
Black Knight, is Black Knight there?
He is there.
Black Knight is there. Yeah. Tigra's there.
He's next to Monica.
Friend of the show, Machine Man X-51. He's there all the way on the left.
Yeah, he is there. I like him better in issue 2 when he gets a new name. That cracked me up.
I don't remember what his. You'll have to point it out. All right. So the main Avengers are in the back room. They're keeping track of this big board of pictures of people who aren't there yet. And some are deceased, some are unavailable, some are unknown. There was no answer from the Hulk. They're on a video call with the Fantastic Four. They're on a Zoom with the Fantastic Four, who can't help right now. They're saying, we've got other stuff going on right now. They call the Hulk.
Perfectly understandable.
Yes. The Hulk yells into the camera and says, I got attacked by trolls because of y'all. Don't bother me again. Like, all right, that's good. So they're like, all right, let's just start the meeting. Nobody else is coming. So they get to chapter 3 here. Cap addressing everybody. He's saying, great, we got a ton of Avengers here. I'm going to serve as chairman until we can settle a roster down and get things going. He gives a bit of a rousing speech.
I love that they have a lecture theatrical seating. Like a lecture room somewhere in the mansion, and nobody is within 3 seats of D-Man.
That's definitely that was a good visual gag there. But it is strange that they have. I guess they watch movies at Avengers Mansion, and they have like a nice home theater setup. Why not? Or do you think they invite like stand-up comedians or bands to play?
I would think it'd be like the UN, where they're all like around, and then they have like somebody speaking at the lectern.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a combination of all of those things.
Sure.
Also, they have movie nights, but also, like speakers.
Yeah. Namor's not happy to be there. He's kind of got his arms folded. He's like, this seems like bullshit.
Hawkeye is also kind of being a little bitch throughout this whole comic here.
Through the whole
thing. He's saying like we should be up there on stage with them, like in talking to Wanda, to Scarlet Witch. Like we joined like almost around the same time Cap did. Like we're practically just as original.
Founding members 3 issues later.
Yeah.
It's enough of a difference.
Yeah. And he's like, all right, so Thor here, he's going to tell us about all the dangers we're running into. And then Spider-Man gets up and he's like, hey, you know what? I don't really think I knew what I was getting myself into. I've got like 5 different things going on for myself right now. I've really got to go. And Swordsman calls him a coward. And Captain America's like, no. He's proved his courage. If he's got to go, he's got to go. And so Spider-Man walks out with a couple thumbs up. He's like, thanks, guys. Peace.
Yeah, and then Sandman's like, you got a problem with Spider-Man. You got a problem with me.
Yeah, and Captain America settles everybody down before we get a big superhero fight. And then Thor takes over to explain what they're dealing with here. Thor has been fighting Doctor Doom. So while all the heroes were missing, they were saved by Franklin Richards, who put them in like this fake world that he was kind of creating with his powers. It's not too important, but Doctor Doom was trying to steal Franklin Richards' power, which would have, doomed all the heroes in the fake world, right?
Classic Doctor Doom movie.
Classic Doctor Doom. Thor could not beat Doom, so he used his hammer to create a rift between realities, locked himself in Doom there, so that Doom couldn't get to Franklin. Thor woke up. He was in Asgard, laid to rubble, nobody there. The Rainbow Bridge was destroyed. Everything was gone, so he's traveling everywhere. And he discovers that the Twilight Sword, the most powerful and dangerous weapon known to Asgard, was also gone. Oh, my God. And then he finds a piece of the Rainbow Bridge. And when he touches it, he gets transported back to the real world, back to Chicago.
He gets transported to Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago.
That part of the bridge. Send you to get you some pizza.
And he says that all these attacking monsters probably also came from Rainbow Bridge pieces that they found. Plus, somebody's got the sword. Plus, somebody has the 5 Mystic Norn stones that I hadn't mentioned before. It's probably the same person, but I sense all 5 of them are here in Midgar, all spread out.
These are 5 pretty colored stones that aren't the Infinity Stones, right?
Not the Infinity
stones.
They're different stones.
Did George Perez do Infinity Gauntlet also?
He did the first 3 issues or 4 issues, and then Ron Lim did the last couple issues.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This looks very familiar that way.
During this, Iron Man is talking about how much he hates all this magic stuff. It's just not right. It messes with the laws of the natural world. Justice Vance, friend of the show, he stands up and he's like, hi, sorry, I don't even know if I count as a real Avenger. I'm just one of the new warriors. Happy to be here. But what if this is all a trap? And everyone glares at him. He's like, oh, of course you considered that. Can I just die now? Very, very cute moment.
I like it. So, I do like he's worming his way. I like him now.
He's a little worming his way into your heart. But Captain America splits everyone up into 5 teams, and they all fly off. Moon Knight's hanging out. Is he a friend of the show? Did we read? We did.
We read a few. We read Moon Knight.
I don't think he's a friend of the show.
He's a neutral of the show. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fine. But he's been
of the show.
He's been on the roof. He did get the message to come, but he didn't respond to the call. He just kind of showed up and listened. He doesn't like working in groups. He'll go his own way. So I kind of thought we were going to see him helping in the shadows.
Nope.
But no, he really does go his own way. Sorry.
It is funny. They let everyone who's ever been an Avengers West Coast member join, and I'm like, some of these people are pretty crappy. Living Lightning, pretty crappy. Moon Knight, no. I don't know.
Moon Knight's a big enough deal.
Oscar Isaac played him.
He wasn't.
But why is he joining the Avengers West Coast? He lives in New York, first of all.
That's a good question.
He had to move west for a job.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot of people where I'm like, I only know the only reason you're here is because you joined the other team that no one likes. U.S. Agent is another one. He's here. Enemy of the show. Kurt Russell's son.
I like Kurt Russell's son. I don't like U.S. Agent. He's Kurt Russell's son is very good at playing a character I don't like.
Yes.
So all these Avengers, they fly off to go their 5 separate ways to go after these stones. Rick Jones stays behind with Jarvis. And then we've got a dude in the shadows. Not exactly. It's a dudette, possibly, with a close-up eye shot. which kind of achieves the same effect.
She's got eyeshadow.
Dudette with eyeshadow. Yes. So she's watching in this magic mist, saying, they're coming. Soon, nephew, the one we need will fall into our laps.
It's a DuckTales villain here.
It is a DuckTales villain. So on to chapter 4. The Quinjet with Captain America. Okay, this is the Quinjet we're following here. It's Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Crystal from the Inhumans, Hercules, D-Man, and Quasar. That's a pretty good lineup here. It's just about to land.
There, it's not a good lineup.
Yeah, the Inhumans I feel like have
You're
to be
prejudiced, Vince.
I am. Yes. I don't like them Mooninites.
No, Mooninites is different. Okay.
I mean, some might say that Earth is their moon, Vince. Have you ever thought of that?
Never thought of that. Oh man. So their Quinjet's just about to land in the spot where they're headed to, and they get hit by a big whirlwind that shows up out of nowhere. Quasar and Crystal fly out to deal with it. Black Panther shows up in these cool sideways staticky panels where he's saying, "Hey, Captain America, by the way, the other 4 stones just disappeared, and we've got word that they're all in your area over there," which is very funny to me. And Wanda uses her Deus Ex Machina powers to save them all from crashing. Hooray. Then they find the sword. They weren't even looking for the sword. They were looking for one of the stones, and they find the giant sword. What is this sword called again? I didn't write it down.
The Twilight Sword.
Twilight Sword. That's right, for killing vampires. And it's a giant sword. It's like as big as a building. And they are greeted there by...
It's stuck in a stone, but it's actually a mountain.
Oh, isn't a mountain just kind of a? Isn't a mountain just a big sword?
Yep.
I mean, a big stone.
Yes.
No, it's not a big sword.
A mountain could be a big sword. It could be a big club. Yeah. But anyways, they're greeted by Mordred the Evil, who is the son of Arthur Pendragon.
I like that he introduces himself. He goes, "I am Mordred, son of Arthur Pendragon, but you probably know me better as Mordred the Evil." Mordred who? Mordred the Evil. There we go. Got it.
It's like, right. That one. That Mordred.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that incest baby.
Arthur
and Morgan Le Fay, distantly related. Or I think they were relatively closely related, actually.
Chris just coming with like, incest baby.
Wow. Arthurian legends. Got some explaining to do.
I mean, Mordred was bad.
Okay, he's the evil. This particular
Mordred. King Arthur stories, okay, it was bad that this happened.
Is he the Green Knight, or is she just a knight that's dressed in green?
No, not even close. He's the one that kills Arthur, or that sends him to his Avalon or whatever, where he goes to sleep.
All right, so let's keep going. He makes the ground rise up like rock tentacles and pulls Scarlet Witch down underground. And then rock trolls rise up to attack everybody else. And they're doing a bit of fighting here. Quicksilver punches Mordred during the fight. "Tell me where my sister is," that kind of thing. And then the real villain shows up, Morgan Le Fay. She wants them to cooperate. They're not going to cooperate. But we see a little splash page of the other 4 Avengers team fighting. They're all dealing with their own baddies. And Morgan's gloating. They're too late. She's already got what she wanted. Mordred's attack was a diversion. She's got the stones, and she's going to harness the Scarlet Witch's reality-bending powers so that she can wield the sword, because she is not pure of heart enough to wield the sword. But if she can bend reality, why not? Good for her. Good plan.
Yeah, not good for everyone else.
No, not at all. She raises the sword. Everything fades to white, and Captain America thinks, "Man, Iron Man would hate this." And I thought that was pretty cute.
Yep.
But a cute first issue. Put a whole bunch of Avengers in there. Put a little bit of a haphazard team together. Give us a little adventure to go on. I think it's working for me. Mm-hmm. Issue 2.
I do. Quicksilver, when he punches Mordred, he says, "You talk too much." And watching various YouTubes of wrestling things, whenever I see that, I constantly think, "You never shut up."
Shut up. That's great. Homeboy. All right. So issue 2, it's still 1998. but reality is completely different here.
Oh, we've got an old-timey Scarlet Witch has created a new House of M, where M stands for Morgan.
There were a lot of House of M
stands for
vibes.
medieval.
There were House of M vibes. There were also some slight what is that Neil Gaiman book? 1492.
1602.
1602.
Both books that didn't exist here in 1990.
No, did not exist at the time.
No.
Wow.
But it's it's a whole medieval-y kind of world here. It's the seat of the civilized world is this little city, like what was it called, Tanagan Island or something like that, led by Queen Morgan, who is the queen of everything. And some drunks in the village are walking around. They're trying to accost a couple of ladies, but they're like, "Whoa, sorry, we didn't know it was y'all." And it's the Hulk, She-Hulk and Carol Danvers. But here they're calling themselves Jade Giantess and Lady Marvel. And they're like, "Hey, don't mess with us. Other heroes are around, looking out for each other, that kind of stuff." And we see the other heroes flying through the sky, and everyone looks slightly different. And Morgan is gloating to Mordred about how they have all the heroes under their control. And Mordred is like, "It's kind of dangerous to have them all so close, don't you think?" And she's like, "Shut up, idiot. You're weak." She calls him names throughout this whole thing. "You're such an old woman," she says at some point. And then one of her subjects, Thor, has come to speak with her, but he's called Donar now. He's been having troubling thoughts. He's the god of thunder, but he's serving as her soldier. Why is he doing that? That doesn't make any sense. And she's like, "Oh, remember you came here, you loved this place so much, you wanted to live with the mortals, and you loved me, so you wanted to serve me." But he's like, "Oh yeah, I do remember that, but I still kind of feel uneasy about it all." And then he meets this version of the Vision, who's just like a stone statue with an infinity stone in his head.
That was
and he's like,
Vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think it was, Vince?
I don't know. This clay dude. I did not think that far. There's 20 other characters I got to keep track of.
There's a lot of characters, and they didn't show Vision in the first issue like at all.
Well, it is crazy that George Perez is like, "All right, we introduced like 35 characters last issue. I'm going to redesign everyone's costume."
Yeah.
Some more than others.
Yeah, Thor is basically the same. He just has the same beard. He looks the same.
Yeah, some people do look exactly the same, and some people are just totally different.
No, but Vision and Martian Manhunter are the two like Avengers Justice League members that just never enter my head. Like I always forget they exist.
They're very similar in style too, so maybe it's a personal problem for
I don't
you
like
guys.
green people. I don't like them. Green robotic aliens.
We talked about this with Martian Manhunter. He disappears just like Vision does, intangible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. That's why you can't hold on to the memory.
It's like John Cena. He's invisible.
That's right. We're wrestling.
So so Thor meets Vision. He's like, "I know this man." And Morgan's like, "Yeah, of course you do. He's part of the court." And he's like, No. I know a different version of this man. Oh, shit. I got to get out of here. And he heads back to Asgard to discover what's true. And Morgan's like, "Yeah, don't worry. He's not going to find anything because there's no Asgard in my version of reality." Great. We've got Wanda. She's down in the dungeon, struggling to free herself, to get a call out to someone, but nothing. And then we have Captain America, who in this world is called Yeoman America. Which I feel like the America is the part you need to change if you're making this doesn't make any sense at all.
It's just like 1602. He came from America and was like, "Here I am."
Yeah, I guess so. And he's patrolling through the streets. These bums think he's coming after them for trying to hit on the ladies. I guess they were trying to do more than that. But he's going after Hawkeye, aka Longbow here. And he calls to him from afar, and he's like, "Hawkeye, that's a good compliment, but remember, my name's Longbow." Haha. And Captain America walks up to him and says, "Remember." And I'm like, "Oh, Captain America's awake." And he wakes up Hawkeye, too.
Yeah, Captain America's woke.
He's woke.
Yeah.
But it is just like in 1602.
Just like in 1602.
Yes. I love this. I love that it's like whoever believes the most in the Avengers can be shaken out of this.
Yes, he went to Hawkeye because he knew that he cared so much that it would like the shock would instantly wake him up out of it. But Hawkeye's like,
what was the ranking of like in the Purple Rain story, the Purple Man story we read recently, like of who could snap out of it the quickest? Because Tony was not the one. Tony was like low on the depth chart of like who's going to be able to get out of this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Which also plays here.
I was just saying, this or in which story are you talking about?
Both stories.
Emperor Doom?
Emperor Doom. Was Hawkeye even in that book? I don't remember. He might.
I don't remember if Hawkeye was. I know Wonder Man was, who we'll get to.
Yeah, but Captain
I get
America
some Emperor Doom vibes from this story a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hawkeye's like, oh man, not another alternate reality.
I do love that line.
Cap woke up because he heard a voice calling to the Avengers for aid, which I presume was a Scarlet Witch calling out for help. Who else do they have on their team? They got Photon and Wasp there. They all.
I love it. Hawkeye's like, I got some great ideas of who to wake up, and it goes to Photon and Wasp, and then Cap is like, I'll go to Tony Stark. He'll be good.
Yeah.
Nope.
And Hawkeye's like, you moron.
Yeah. Tony Stark is mad that they intruded on his chambers, and he starts fighting. Then there's a big explosion. Hawkeye's like, yeah, Tony is too into this nobleman trip here. And a bunch of the other heroes try to attack, and Cap gives a stirring speech. And a few people in the crowd kind of start to wake up, and they're like, oh, wait, we've been the traitors, not them. And Namor instantly is just like Namor, he's a hothead. He attacks and kind of ends the speech, but they did get through to a few people. They got through to Vance, Justice, and Hawkeye is actually kind of a little bit surprised. Like that guy's like barely an Avenger. Why does he have such a connection?
He's not an Avenger. He's just on the New Warriors.
Yeah.
He's just friends with Rage, who is on the Avengers. That's why he's there.
Who's
That's
Rage?
Why he's there. He's that
Rage?
big guy in the metal suit that they were talking to.
Yes, he's the big black guy who's next to him in the panel where he remembers, and in most of these panels. And it's Rage, Firestar, and Justice are all together in all of these early panels.
No. Now I've now turned all my ire from Justice now to Rage. I don't believe Rage is.
Rage is lame. You're allowed to not like Rage.
That sentence, by the way, I've turned my ire from Justice to Rage. It's kind of a weird sentence.
But I will say, before you judge him too harshly, Vince, Rage is also a teenage black man. So you're canceled for.
Is he against the machine?
I guess I don't know. He gets superpowers that make people think he's an adult, and then like, oh, you're like 14, you can't be on the Avengers.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I just don't like superhero names that are like an emotion. I don't like that, or like a concept. Justice. Rage
is a bad. You're right. Right.
I'm not a fan. Firestar. That's cool. But
it is cool. I mean, she was one of Spider-Man's amazing friends.
Oh, was she? Okay.
Yeah. That was before she was ever in the comics. She was on the cartoon show.
She's Spider-Man, like the Harley Quinn of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah,
kind of in a way.
I'm surprised that name wasn't taken before her. That's a good name.
Well, I mean, it was the 80s, so it was different.
Mordred is talking to Morgan, saying like, "Oh, you're losing control of them." And Scarlet Witch we see is pushing harder, and the villagers are running because the Avengers barracks is exploding into the rubble because of this fight. And as this fight goes outside, I like this panel with Machine Man as a knight. It's just like a big splash page of all the heroes fighting, and his arms are like stretched out. Oh yeah, what was his name in this?
Machinery.
What?
Mac as like Scottish.
Maybe that went over my head. Machine. I just read it. No, interesting.
Pretty good. He's Scottish.
Scottish. Oh. I kind of want to read Scrooge McDuck again. I've been thinking about it a lot. Not
There's
gonna
more.
lie. All right.
There's more. I have a hardback. There's more extra stories. We could read it.
Maybe. All right. He's the only Scottish person I know. Is that racist? If I think of
Alan
Ducks,
Cumming is Scottish.
You just think of Ducks.
He played that German character Nightcrawler.
That's racist. Okay, so there's a big hero versus hero fight. I like this part where it's like, Beast, you'd come to your senses if you could speak. And he just goes, rawr. Thor is back too. He's joined the fight. But Morgan still is not worried. She tells Moondragon. Moondragon's by her side. What is her name in this? Doesn't matter.
Celine, of course.
Celine. Thank you.
Moon adjacent.
Yes.
Celine Dion.
Yes.
Okay.
Tells Moondragon that they're gonna let the heroes run. They'll find them later, and she's telling Mordred, like, I'm not worried. I got the sword. I got the Scarlet Witch. I can keep reshaping reality. It's no big deal. And the Scarlet Witch is like constantly pushing. She's got a burst of energy come out of her, and guess what comes out of her? It's freaking Wonder Man, friend of the show, Simon. Good to see you, Simon. Lots of friends of the show here.
Yeah, he's all energy and crackly.
All energy.
I do love Morgan Le Fay, not a villain I usually like, but I do like this characterization of her where she's so like, this is fun. This is what it's all about. Like, I reshaped reality to make myself queen, but I didn't want to just sit here and like have meetings. Yeah. It is Emperor Doom adjacent, where it's like, that's not what I want to do. I want to have big, crazy fights.
And it's like right at the beginning of issue 3, Mordred like brings the ambassador from some neighboring country to broker a peace. Yeah. He's like, Morgan, you missed the meeting. And Morgana's like, I don't give a shit, and she explodes the guy. And you're like, none of this matters, man.
I love that. I was like, this is actually great. And she's like, who cares?
Yep.
Like, the only thing that matters is that I have the Twilight Sword and the Scarlet Witch. And I don't know if you noticed, but I don't have the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, everything that matters right now is just get the Scarlet Witch, keep fucking with the Avengers, and that's it. So issue 3.
That's actually that's Barry Keoghan's character. That's the like leader of the Lemurians there. I think it's one of the like main Eternal guys.
Interesting. Do I have to see that movie? I'll have to watch that movie eventually.
No, you read Earth X. You know what it is.
I got it all. So it's also important to mention Wonder Man's been dead. How did Wonder Man die? Oh, he tells us how he died.
Yeah, there was a big bomb, and it was the kind of energy that made him, I guess, and so that's how they're like hand waving of how it could actually kill him. Yeah. Is they're like, this is the same energy that he's made from, so it made him disappear.
So on to issue 3, though. Cap's team is training in the woods. Who do they have right now? They've got Cap, Hawkeye, and Thor. They got Wasp. Yeah, they got Wasp and Photon. They got Quasar, and they got Justice added to the ranks. And that's it. I thought they got more people, actually, from that big fight, but they just got Quasar and Justice.
Quasar also has the bands, right? Like the Captain Marvel bands and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. He when I found out that the big MacGuffin of the Marvels was the quantum bands, I was like, oh wow, like Quasar.
Yeah.
Nice. We get a really good exposition dump from Morgan Le Fay as she's yelling at an insubordinate. Actually, this might be my panel of the week. It's just a close-up of her face yelling all of the stuff that happened in the last issue. It's perfect. And her big point is, where is the Scarlet Witch? And it's some nobody. Moondragon's in his thoughts, and this guy doesn't know. So Morgan explodes his head. A lot of people get exploded in this book. A lot of things get exploded in like satisfying ways, I think. This is where Mordred brings that ambassador who gets exploded. Morgan is just like mad that she doesn't have the Scarlet Witch, so she says to Moondragon, I'm getting mixed up between Morgan, Mordred, and Moondragon. There's a lot of... Okay, I'm keeping it straight, though. Queen Morgan orders Moondragon, bald Moondragon, friend of the show, to find the Avengers. She doesn't do that here, though.
No.
She just orders her to find the Avengers mentally. So then she does, and the Avengers are visited by a magic hologram message from Morgan saying they have until dawn to return the Scarlet Witch, or else she'll destroy them all. And this is news to the Avengers because they're like, wait, she doesn't have Scarlet Witch, so where is she?
Yeah, I do love it because Cap's like, she's getting desperate, and Justice is like, that's desperate.
Yeah. Cap knows how to read them. So we see Wanda. She's sitting in a little beach cave grotto thing by a fire. Wonder Man returns with some firewood. They kind of talk about what happened with him. His body is ionic energy, and he exploded in Force Works #1. I've never heard of Force Works, but all of a sudden I want to read it.
It's not good, believe it or not. I know you're shocked.
What is it?
When West Coast Avengers was canceled in like 1993 or 1994, it got replaced by Force Works. So it's basically the same thing, but they didn't have the Avengers logo. and it had some characters. This is like so deep into the woods, but they had like characters that were never in the Avengers, like Century, who was in the Iron Man cartoon, joined the team. It was not good.
Can I tell you though, that's one of my favorite things about reading Busiek comics is that there's almost always going to be these references to older comics that maybe I haven't even heard of, and I'm not going to read, but just knowing they exist, I feel smarter, you know?
Yes, I very much appreciated that at the time, and I still like it now. That it's like this is a guy before Wikipedia that like he knew his stuff. Like there is and it's not just like, oh, this is I'm going to bring back Loki or just like a major character. It's like he's bringing back a very obscure. We're going to get to at the end of this arc, the incredibly obscure guy.
Well, because it said that Morgan Le Fay and like the editor notes said like they fought her like in issue 250, which would have been 15 years ago, like earlier, at least
1984, I think.
Right, and that was the last time they fought her. I
think that's the only time they fought her. Yeah,
that's so weird.
They fought because she was a Spider-Woman villain.
Oh, friend of the show.
Then they Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, who's not.
Not Sydney Sweeney.
But they saved her and fought Morgan Le Fay, and this is like 1984. This is around the time they teamed up with David Letterman. But again, we're way off track.
Okay, yeah, because we're probably like issue 400-ish now. Okay, cool. No worries.
Wonder Man is still alive because his energy was out there, and he latched onto Scarlet Witch's energy, who was able to pull him back to life. I was like, but what? Why were you able to latch on so much? Simon's like, I don't want to say. Probably because he was like in love with Scarlet Witch, right?
There's a lot of people who have been in love with Scarlet Witch because Vision's here.
Right.
Was Hawkeye had a relationship with her yet, or is that later?
I think so.
He wanted to have a relationship with her, but of course she chose Vision way back in the day. Okay. So a lot of people who have been in love with Scarlet Witch. So he's just like, I don't want to say, and it's very clear that he's and we've talked about it before, but but Wonder Man's brain, when he was considered dead back in the 60s, Ultron used that brain to create the Vision's
that's right,
like thoughts or whatever, and then use the body of the original Human Torch. So he is like a brother to Wonder Man. They're very similar.
Okay.
So they both have a type.
Yeah. The Avengers are now trying to sneak into the castle. They're dressed like monks to get in because that always works. But it does not work, and they are instantly attacked by every hero in another fun giant splash panel.
I love that. That was so good.
Yes. These heroes in this splash panel definitely don't look redesigned. They all look like their absolute original regular
Hercules has such a redesign, right? No.
Does he?
No. I mean, Hercules is another one where it's like, why change him?
Yep.
Yeah, like all the characters have been like medievalized, except the ones who could have existed in the medieval times.
Mm-hmm. I do like the giant man kind of netting antis. I like that's a cool touch.
Mm-hmm. Morgan is kind of gloating above everybody. And Mordred is like, "What the heck? Just kill them. We shouldn't have like ever even involved the Avengers in the first place. We just like get the Scarlet Witch and be done with it." Morgan, though, is tired of Mordred and chokes him out with purple magic. Great.
Yeah, she's just like, shut up, dude. This is what it's all about.
Such a buzzkill. She's like, again, gloating. She gloats a lot in this book. Going, nobody can challenge me. And then Scarlet Witch shows up saying, I can challenge you. And she throws a purple magic fireball at her face. And Wanda says she's infused with Morgan's magic, so she has the strength to beat her. And they fight. Wanda's kind of holding her own, but she's not winning until Wonder Man shows up to help. And kind of helps her out. He's now the main kind of front against Morgan.
And somehow Scarlet Witch turns him into like a kaiju. He's like 60 feet tall.
Well, yes, that feeding him a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Vance is having a little personal moment. He's a bit overwhelmed by all this. And then he gets a mental blast from Moondragon, but D-Man saves him. Good old D-Man. D-Man just woke up from his little brainwashing.
D-Man is woke, too.
D-Man is woke. And Vance says something like, oh, I bet Morgan is devoting so much energy to the fight that her grasp on the Avengers is fading. D-Man says something like that, I guess. Whatever.
I guess. Well, who cares?
Yeah. Then all the Avengers start to wake up, and they like back Wanda, and they're all doing like a conga line in 2 lines behind her. They're each hand on a shoulder to lend their energy so she can keep feeding it all to Simon.
Yeah, it's basically like when the X-Men all were like, use our power, Phoenix, or whatever. So they're all just powering up Wanda to power up Wonder Man.
At this point, I wrote, who is this piratey looking guy with the white hair and the goatee? Because he's way at the front of this conga line, and I don't know who that's supposed to be.
Piratey guy with goatee.
I had no idea who this was supposed to be, and he had such a distinct design that I was like, this guy has to be somebody. Is that Namor? Oh, it might be Namor.
I mean, Quicksilver is there. Is that who you're talking about?
I don't know, man.
Because he's like,
that's Quicksilver because he's got like a goatee. He's got the guy.
They make him more Romani. Yeah, he's more Romani coded
with the goatee and the necklace, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and the big bangle earrings.
I accept it now. The Romani coding makes sense to me. He didn't like. He almost reminded me more of Nightcrawler, but maybe it was the piratiness that made me think that.
Yeah, I see that, but yeah, it's because he and Scarlet Witch grew up being.
He even said, show her, my sister. Okay, got it. My bad. Wow. We then,
I thought you were talking about U.S. Agent, who is in the background of one of these, looking like a pirate, but he just throws his shield and never says anything.
He doesn't do anything. So this is a very cute little it's not a full splash, but it's a giant Ant-Man kind of holding together everybody as they're pushing into each other. And it's almost like a giant group hug in a way. It's very sweet. Wanda is prepared to sacrifice all of Wonder Man's energy to throw it at Morgan and then make him, I guess, kind of explode to take down Morgan. But then Vision gets sliced in half by this green energy. What? It's fine. I mean, he's just a robot, but
Vince is like, oh no, that guy, I don't know who that is.
That guy, I don't know.
That statue. I don't know why we care about this statue, but sure.
It's like a Tanuki suit. It's Tanuki Mario.
Now I care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that he has balls, you care.
Yep. So Wanda feeds all this power into Simon. He explodes, and everything goes back to normal pretty instantly. Except Vision is actually sliced in half with his wires and his computer guts all falling out of him. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's a very distressing image, honestly. Even though I know he's a robot and he's going to be fine, it makes me feel things.
Yeah, I do like that they're like, Cersei, can you help him? And because she has like matter transformation powers, and she's like, I don't know how to make robots.
Yeah, I mean, like you really have to be. Yeah.
If he was just a guy, she could have just put a new leg on him, but she's like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. You got to get into the 21st century. The whole world's computers now. Pay attention.
She's an Eternal. She doesn't know.
All right. Then we get to.
Who is she in the movie, Vince? Who is Cersei?
Oh, she was also, what is her name? I don't know her name off the top of my head. I do know she was also a Kree soldier in Captain Marvel 1. She's one of those actresses that's played multiple Marvel characters. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. And Barry Keoghan was Druid, by the way.
Yes, that's who it was, though, wasn't it? Wasn't that Druid? Was the like Lemuria guy that she explodes?
I don't know if we got a name. Yeah,
we didn't get an actual name, but I thought the design was based on that guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair, yeah. So then Wanda sees some of Wonder Man's residual energy in the sky. She sheds a tear. And then Beast has a question for Cap. What are we going to do with 39 Avengers, eh? And this last panel, he looks like Danny DeVito telling a joke here at the end of this last panel. It's a little strange. But what are we going to do with all these Avengers?
See, I watched Justice League Unlimited, and that was this cartoon where they're like, we just have a fuck ton of Justice League members. Shut up. Who cares? Anybody. We'll just make an episode about anybody. Shut up. It's fine.
We're about to see why this doesn't work. Okay, then.
It wasn't like every episode was like 30 people running for.
I think, honestly, the Justice League was a little bit smarter about how they went about and having all these members on one team.
Yeah.
So
and the original Justice League cartoon was like 7 people, which is a normal amount.
It's a very normal amount, yeah. So who will be on the Avengers is the cover of this issue. Bonus poster inside. I wish I had that poster.
And it's got a big question mark where the character faces usually are.
Yep. So again, my Tales of the Tape here. So I bought issue 1 when it came out. Morgan Le Fay showed up, and I was like, I don't really care about her. I saw this issue on the stands, and I was like, I have to buy this. Like, this looks so cool as the cover.
Yeah, you want to know, man.
In May 1998, 13-year-old Chris was like, I gotta get this. I gotta find this out.
Yeah. Yeah, like I picked up issues 2 and 3 later, but this one I saw it and I was like, I need this, and I need all the issues going forward because this is great.
So we get a news story here. There's a lot of news stories and a lot of press covering the Avengers. I think more so than any other comic we've ever read, where the press is constantly involved in everything.
I didn't do it, but I
wanted like Dark Knight. Yeah,
I didn't want. I wanted to look up how much Megan McLaren shows up in other issues if she's ever
a recurring character.
Yeah,
no idea.
Megan McLaren for WJBP TV. You don't know her, Chris?
She probably is, honestly, knowing Kurt Busiek.
Yeah,
she probably worked with. She probably worked with Carol Danvers at whatever magazine she worked at.
Yeah, she's probably in some issue 20 years ago. I'm like, I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, but Kurt Busiek knows. So she's doing a news story about how the villain Whirlwind was breaking into a bank, and 19 Avengers show up to take him down. And I love this scene. They keep getting in each other's way as they're trying to attack him. Like Quicksilver runs in, but somebody else was already blasting, so Quicksilver gets hit.
Hit by Sydney Sweeney.
Yes. Whirlwind starts flying away, so Hawkeye's like, hey, somebody get him. And Machine Man reaches his arms for him, and Carol Danvers accidentally blasts his arms off. And the bank president or whatever shows up, and Hawkeye's like, don't worry, we'll pay for all the damages. And he's like, what is this, superhero amateur hour? And the news story continues. An embarrassing loss for the Avengers, coming hot off the heels of defeating Baron Zemo in the Thunderbolts. Yep. Too bad.
I did like as it goes from color to black and white that Quicksilver is like, Psywebs. Can you believe this? She shot me with Psywebs. And Hawkeye's like, shut up, Quicksilver.
Yeah, it's not a good day for the Avengers. But the core Avengers are all meeting. The 4 of them there, and Thor at this point. Cap has a new shield, kind of that triangular shape almost. We've got a meeting with their new federal security liaison, Agent Jerome Freeman.
Dwayne.
Dwayne Freeman?
Yes.
Why did I write Jerome? I could have swore it said Jerome.
Oh, racist.
I'm very wrong.
No.
Oh, it's Dwayne Jerome Freeman. That's what it is. Jerome was his middle name. Okay.
Not racist. I take it back.
Thank you very much.
Kia got his middle name. Thank you very much. We're gonna win pub trivia now.
Yes, yeah.
Megan McLaren and Dwayne Jerome Freeman.
What news station does Megan McLaren work for in the Avengers comic?
WKRP, right? No.
That would be the worst trivia you could ever go to. Lowest scoring trivia.
Incredibly hard. Yeah, I know Beast had Trish Tilby, I think, was Beast's girlfriend, who was a reporter. That one I know, but to go beyond that, I'm like, no.
That would be just name 5 reporters in the Marvel universe that don't work for the Daily Bugle.
Yeah, as you said, I could name Ben Urich,
Phil Urich. I can name most of the
Betty Brant. Stuff. Does she count as a reporter? She became one later.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Anyway, so I kept writing Jerome because I thought that was his name. I was just like, oh, there's a first and a last name, and I didn't keep reading.
He keeps saying, please call me Dwayne. He says that,
at some point, it is.
Yes.
Oh man. At some point, I was like, I did think like I almost wrote Dwayne somewhere, and I was like, no, that's not right. His name's Jerome. What am I doing? He's got questions for them. He's like saying, hey, you're all listed as founders of the Avengers, even though Captain America didn't join the team till later. And they're like, yeah. We gave him that status when we voted the Hulk out. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Vote the Hulk out, get Captain America in. You know,
it's like how Elon Musk asked to be considered one of the founders of Tesla as part of this him purchasing Tesla.
Is that? Oh man.
Yeah, I do love that there is, like, in theory at least, a like Avengers bylaws that you could read somewhere that, like, their charter that says how they're set up. And how it works, in theory at least. I appreciate that, and yeah, it makes sense because they're like, well, Hulk was a founder, but after like issue 3 or 4, he was gone from the book. So
I feel like that's a Doctor Doom story waiting to happen, where he uses a loophole to gain control of the Avengers. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. This is where
She-Hulk shows up. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, a lawyer battle.
Oh. We get Wasp complimenting Thor on being clean shaven here. Yeah. But anyways, okay. So Dwayne, I did write Dwayne here. Dwayne says he's there to try and make their lives easier, not harder. I forget, it was like Iron Man whispers, like, are you sure this guy's from the government? And Captain America was, not everyone's going to be a Henry Gyrich. And I'm like, damn, yeah, that is like the Avengers liaison for forever, who was a fucking asshole.
How hard would it be to whisper in an Iron Man mask?
Yeah, while that guy's sitting right there.
Seems difficult, but yeah. I don't know.
Maybe he's got whisper technology. They can like point it in a particular.
Maybe.
Yeah. So they're taking stock of all possible members. After the last adventure, they kind of knew this big number. These numbers were going to be very temporary. Some people are going to have to go. Stingray went back to ocean research. Sandman went back to Silver Sable. I'm not going to read all these. Darkhawk wants to stay a local hero in Queens.
Sydney Sweeney she has a daughter. I found.
Yes. Yeah. Spider-Woman has a job and a daughter in Denver. Living Lightning went back to college in L.A. Black Widow left without explanation. Huh. But Iron Man wanted to ask her something. I guess she
read issues of Iron Man to figure out what's going on with that.
But I can't blame Black Widow. She did like nothing in the last 3 issues, so she's like, I don't got to be here.
Yeah. And she's a spy, so it's just like, whatever. She has better things to do.
Yep. Captain America says that he thinks at least 3 former charter members should stay to help the team get back on its feet. And Cap says he'll stay. Thor says he can stay too. Hank and Jan cannot stay. Hank is working at a New Jersey research firm, and Jan has an investment portfolio to build. You could probably do that while you're on the Avengers, I think, honestly.
She's a day trader.
Yeah.
Very busy.
They're also back together, which is kind of weird. I don't know when that happened.
Yeah, they do talk. They flirt a lot to the point where people are like, did y'all secretly get married? And Jan's like, no, I wouldn't have been able to keep my lips shut if I had,
Did you mind control your husband again? Did you take advantage of his psychotic break to marry him?
Yeah. Cap says that Vision and Scarlet Witch should be on the roster, considering that he's like half dead and tied to the building right now.
And Scarlet Witch kind of saved the day and everything.
Yeah. And we see Vision. He's still half cut off with hanging out in one of these regenerative tubes with liquids. I don't know how robots work, but I guess these liquids are healing him. Vision is still connected to the computer, so he projects a hologram to talk to Wanda. And Vision's like, don't be so worried about me. Like, we're not married anymore. Our marriage is long over. I was disassembled, reassembled. I'm a new person now. Wanda is kind of super saddened by this. She's like, I'm a widow then. Fine, I accept this. She kind of runs out. We got reporters all outside the mansion.
I do appreciate because Vision's original stick was that he would sort of scare people by hovering up from things and being like, whoa. That he's still able to scare even his former wife by just appearing when she's not expecting.
It's good. So these reporters outside are just waiting for a story. They see hey, somebody's coming out. Hey, are y'all the new Avengers team? And no, we're just leaving. She-Hulk and the Black Knight are going back to being heroes for hire. Quicksilver and Crystal are going to visit Inhuman relatives in Attilan. Or Adelan? I don't know.
Yeah, however you say. I do appreciate, again, just Kurt Busiek and George Perez having read prior Avengers books, because there was a big love triangle in the 90s Avengers about Black Knight, Crystal, and Cersei, were like a love triangle. And so Quicksilver is like, yeah, I'm going back to Attilan to be with my family. And you just see Black Knight just being like, oh.
Oh.
Because he's like, I wish I was married to Crystal instead of this idiot.
I do believe that this book, at the very least, accounts for everybody who was in the first 3 issues. Like, if they don't stick around, it tells us where they went. And I'm like, you know what? That's nice of this book.
It is crazy, especially, like I said, guys like Darkhawk. You're like, no one would care. If you're like, yeah, Darkhawk's just not here anymore.
Yeah. Darkhawk doesn't want to be on the Avengers. He just wants to fight heroes, fight villains and queens.
Yeah, he just wants to play the first 3 or 4 missions of Spider-Man 2 in Queens.
Yeah, that's all he does. That's all he wants to do. So what else do we got here? Hawkeye is sitting in the living room with everybody else. Everyone's kind of pacing around, waiting to see who made the team. And Hawkeye's pissed. He's like, we should go march in there and demand our roster spots. And Moondragon's like, I can see right through you. I'm just like, you're pissed you're not on the selection committee yourself. It's like, shut up, Moondragon. Nobody asked you. Firestar and Rage are talking, and Firestar's like, I'd be happy to go back to the New Warriors. That guy.
Oh, God. Oh, man. I don't like this design. Okay.
Yes, it's bad.
It's very nice.
He's got like a ripped cape and also like spiked like shoulder pads. Ugh. It's a mess. Yeah. This is something third grade me would draw.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, again, the idea is that he's a teenager who got these powers. So
okay, all right. Again, it's designed by a teenager. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. But Firestar is like, yeah, I'd be fine if I don't make the Avengers. But Vance has dreamed of being an Avenger his whole life. And Vance runs over and he's like, hey, I just heard something on the police band. We got to go. This could be our shot. And the 3 of them start going for the door. And Vance is like, no. This is New Warriors business at this point. You can't come. And Hawkeye's like, I wonder what the Junior League is up to. And he kind of follows them. Beast is running tests on Carol Danvers. Her powers have decreased. Doesn't seem like she can turn into the whole radioactive form anymore. And also they're looking over new names together. These names are terrible. Regalia Nimbus, Blitzkrieg Warrior, and Shrike Pitfire. That is a bad name for like anything.
I do like that because she looks at it as like, these are terrible names, and he's like, I call myself the Beast, so I'm bad at this.
What was the last name on the list? I was trying to write it down. It looked like Stuka Zero to me. Stuka. Yes. Is that what that was?
Yeah. The Blitzkrieg and the Stuka. I'm like, Beast. Like, what are you thinking Carol's powers are?
Yeah, man.
She's white and blonde. I don't know. Nazi. Who knows? I don't know.
I guess. Like, it's weird.
It was weird. Then we get another montage of people talking. Scarlet Witch is down to stay if they think she should. Black Panther's like, I should really get back to Wakanda. And honestly, I'm surprised he stuck around this long at this point.
Right.
A few other people get out of there.
A lot of these could have been emails.
Yeah.
This is 1998. Not everyone had an email address.
Mm. I did really like Machine Man, who says, my interest is more in humans and human interaction than in adventure. But if you need me. Which, just reminds me of Earth X. That's all. He's a true friend of the show at this point. Then Dwayne asks if it's okay to get autographs from all the people leaving. And again, they're like, are you sure this guy's from the government?
I mean, you're really going to get, like, Quasar's autograph. Who's going to be like, oh, wow, Quasar?
Maybe when Quasar has a movie in 30 years, then he'll be there. Dwayne will be like, I knew him when.
I think that's, at this point, it's also like one D-list Avenger is not a great autograph, but like 30 D-list Avengers, like that's something, Like each on its own is nothing, but the sum of the parts greater.
And like if you could get Namor, I don't know if Namor would stop and sign an autograph. He seems like the type that would be like, no.
Yeah.
But if you got Namor's autograph, that would be worth something.
I feel like,
oh wow,
honestly, Namor. I think Namor has never signed anything in his life. I think Namor has never held a pen.
Yeah, Namor. Yeah, he's like the pro wrestlers who just immediately like, yeah, right. I signed it to eBay. Go to hell, and just like flies away.
Is Namor might be illiterate, actually. I would not be surprised if Namor is illiterate.
Wow.
He grew up in the ocean.
Oh, so people who grow up on the ocean. I see how it is.
Yeah. You don't think they have Riding under the ocean? Okay.
Who was that? I saw that documentary about that girl, and she couldn't even talk.
What?
You know that documentary about that.
Is that you know what I'm talking about?
But she did sign her name to lose her voice, the Little Mermaid.
Oh, you're right. So she was not illiterate. Okay, thank you. You're right.
Legal contract that you didn't read.
Should have read it. Really should have read it. All right. So
did
they
she
also
sign her last name on it, or did she write Ariel?
Yeah, I think she just wrote her first name.
Hilarious.
Okay. That's enough.
But in cursive, so good for her.
So it counts. So the Avengers also, they send D-Man home with a shower and 2 bags of food for his family, and then he instantly jumps into a sewer grate because he doesn't want to deal with reporters.
On Avengers Mansion property, which then makes me think, can bad guys get past Avengers security?
Yeah, nobody has a sewer grate in their backyard. Like, what is this?
They had to install it ever since Thor destroyed their septic tank.
That makes sense. So then Iron Man finds Carol Danvers behind the bar. And she's kind of chatting about names, looking at bottles. And Iron Man walks up to her and she's like, "Oh, I was just making sure we were stocked for the press conference. It's probably going to happen afterwards. You know how much those reporters like to drink." And Iron Man is like, thinking about why she felt the need to make an excuse about it. That's definitely a lie. And he knows alcoholics. Then we have Justice and Firestar. They are chasing Whirlwind down. Justice has been studying him. He knows how to take him down. Then we have Captain America talking with everyone about the possible team. And Iron Man says, "Not Carol, not a good idea." And everyone else is like, "What? She's great. We love Carol." And he's like, "Well, I don't really want to go into detail about why not. And I might be wrong. So, okay, it's fine. I withdraw my reservations." And they're all like, "Hey, wait a minute. Where's Hawkeye, though? Like, they've been looking for Hawkeye, and Hawkeye's just been pissed to not be in there with them."
I do like that the what prompts Janet to be like, "Where's Hawkeye?" is Cap being like, "What about U.S. Agent?" Everyone's just like,
Yeah.
No one wants to acknowledge that.
That is good. But Hawkeye is watching Justice and Firestar take down Whirlwind. And afterwards he congratulates them, and he goes on the news, and we see as all the Avengers are watching this, where he kind of introduces the world to Justice and Firestar and says, "There's going to be some big news about these two soon." And then everyone's pissed about Hawkeye. Like, "Why'd you do that, man?" Now they're going to be pissed if we don't put them on the team. And they're saying, "We just closed the roster, too. The only space we saved is for you." And he's like, "Oh, well, you can give mine up and give it to the two of them." But Captain America offers
They're
them
small.
spots.
They can each have half of my spot.
But instead, Captain America offers them spots as reserve members, so they can stay with them and train with them. And Vance is super excited. He's like, yes. Very adorable. And we got a full roster press conference with Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye. Warbird is Carol Danvers' new name. Captain America kind of pauses for a second before he's and Warbird. Okay. And the two reserve members,
formerly Ms. Marvel. Don't call her that anymore.
The Annihilator.
And
don't call her that either.
And there's a little gag afterwards where everyone's like, "Is he gonna say it? Come on, Cap, say it, Cap." And Cap's like, "All right, I'll say it. Avengers assemble! Hooray!" Very sweet.
So this makes me.
Let's go ahead. I believe there was a poster of this splash page that came with this issue too.
Yeah. And that was only issue 4. Honestly, we could have just read the first 4 issues. I think that would be good.
Very
we read 5 and 6.
Yes.
This is gonna be a long
we can
episode.
speed through the last 2 issues.
All right, Squadron Supreme on the cover. These are my dudes. How can I speed through my dudes?
This is so good.
We gotta whiz through them.
Oh my god. We've Jarvis and Thor are talking. Thor's like, "Hey Jarvis, I found this cask of ancient winters in Minnesota. I put it in your trust. Don't open it, or else we'll have an ice age." Okay, cool. We have a training session with Captain America and Warbird. Carol's doing great, record time, but she's not using her binary powers. And Captain America's like, "You should turn those on." And she changes the subject. Cap thinks that's weird. Scarlet Witch is going on a shopping spree to cure her depression because that's what Jan recommended. And Clint is there to hold the boxes. Wanda's like, you know what? It's not working as well for me as it does for Jan.
Retail therapy is not working.
Nope, not her thing. But she still feels like Simon is out there, but they get called back for an emergency. Dwayne fills them in that there were S.H.I.E.L.D. investigators going after a sunken alien spacecraft in northern Maine. They were like, maybe it's part of Thanos' fleet. We don't know. But my team was traveling by commercial airline.
Avengers 125. So that's like 1972, something like that.
Been down there forever, man. And the S.H.I.E.L.D. team was traveling by commercial airline for security reasons, and the plane crashed. Most of the survivors are still alive, but it's like floating in the ocean. They suspect foul play. Let's keep this quiet. And Hawkeye's like, hold on, I don't like that. The government got people killed, and they're asking us to cover it up. Captain America's like, come on, man, we got to go save people. Vision wishes he should come, but he's got to stay back to handle communications. Also, he can't leave. They get there. Iron Man is ordered to go underwater to get the alien ship. Everyone else is ordered to do something cool. Hawkeye is ordered to help the rescue workers get the passengers to shore, and he's like, "What?" He's not happy about this.
He's so grouchy every time Cap tells him to do anything.
They're arguing here, and Captain America's like, "Now's not the time, man. We can talk about this later. Just do the job." It's like, okay, fine. And then the Squadron Supreme shows up. Here we go.
I love this splash page.
It's
of
really
like the
nice.
Shapes, Judgmental Face, and all the rest.
We've got, who do we have here? We got Hyperion. We got Power Princess. We got Dr. Spectrum, who's like the Green Lantern guy. We got Wizard, who's like the Flash. We got Moonglow, who's like a
Zatanna
lady. Sure. We got the Shape, who's like a big blobby dude.
Plastic Man.
Yeah, we got Haywire, who was not one of the main members of the team. He was one of the villains, so I'm surprised he's like a main member of the team here.
And then Skylark, who's kind of a Hawk Girl.
Hawk Girl, yeah.
Okay.
And they've been stuck in this universe for a while, looking for a way home, but they are good guys here.
And President Batman's dead.
President Batman is dead. But they think that the Avengers are phony Avengers. They're like, y'all aren't real. And they're like, what? We're trying to save this plane. Can you help us? And they're like, no, you fakes. And they're casting doubt in the reporters' minds. There's reporters everywhere. And they're like, oh, could these be Skrulls? We just had the thing with the Thunderbolts, and those turned out to be villains. We just had the whole Onslaught thing, and they suddenly came back. Maybe they're not the real Avengers. And the Thunderbolt...
it seems like a weird thing for them to do that at a crashed commercial airline.
Yes, it very much does.
That seems like a weird place for like the fake Avengers to show up.
Yeah, and then there's also a big media presence in the Atlantic Ocean, like watching them do a rescue.
Yeah. But the Squadron Supreme says, you're not even human. Moonglow's mystic scans revealed y'all to be imposters. So they attacked. Iron Man gets punched underwater, and he sees the spaceship, and there's like people looting the spaceship down there. But Hawkeye also got himself into some trouble. Hawkeye, again, was being a little bitch. He's like, oh, Hawkeye, you can only do one thing at a time. Here, shoot an arrow. And he shoots an arrow at the Wizard and gets latched onto him, and he gets slammed into a boat, and into the plane, and he falls down. So Iron Man has to save him. Captain America orders Carol to switch to her binary form, but she does not. And Wanda's watching this, and she's like, I don't think she can do it anymore, or else she would have. Like, you know what? You're right.
It's a troubling gray area, because it's like later Carol is like, hey, it's my body and like my powers, like stay out of my business. But it's also like, that's true, but also we're like, we depend on you for our lives at times. Yeah, so
a little
not telling us.
Yeah, something going on. If you've got a bum leg, like we kind of need to know because you're part of the team.
Yep. Kind of important.
But also, like, you don't need to volunteer your health information. But also, yeah, I get it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. It's a tricky gray area. Again, the Avengers Charter should address this specifically. There should be like a special person whose job it is that she can tell this person.
An ombudsman?
Yes.
Yeah, and then they can anonymously relay that to Captain America, saying, "Hey, one of the members of your team can no longer access their binary powers."
I won't say who.
I won't say who. So just don't rely on that, you know. So then what happens? The fight scene's going on. The Squadron Supreme all of a sudden stops fighting. They said, "All right, we delayed you fakers long enough for Dr. Spectrum to save the plane and get it out of the water. Now we're good." And the Avengers like, "That's what we were trying to do, man." And there's a news story congratulating the Squadron Supreme and casting doubts on the Avengers. Oh, and then plus like Wonder Man showed up out of Scarlet Witch's mouth, out of her energy powers, and they're like, the news story is like, yeah, Wonder Man showed up, and that guy was dead even before Onslaught. So like, what the hell? And Dwayne is talking to the Avengers saying, okay, yeah, the government's kind of taking this seriously. We have to do something to prove you're the real Avengers, or else all our security clearance is getting revoked after 48 hours and you're getting arrested, which seems a little extreme, but okay. And then we do get a literal dude in the shadows here who says he sacrificed an airplane, exposed his hand with the squadron, and I'm not going to wait for that to lead back to me. I'm going to crush the Avengers.
He's got a he's got a real Abe Lincoln profile from like the movie Lincoln. That's what it looks like in this final panel.
Mm-hmm. I would say he looks a lot like Abe Lincoln from the dollar bills.
Oh no, from the movie, the 2012 movie.
He kind of looks like that too.
I don't know where other Abe Lincoln else is from.
Also, Abe Lincoln's like 7 feet tall, right?
Right. Is it Dr. Faustus, or is he a Squadron Supreme guy? Is that who this really is?
Who this guy is?
Yeah.
Oh, we learn who it is.
Yeah, we learn who he is at the end of issue 6. It's not anyone knows.
Okay, yeah, because we got his name. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck this is. I've never seen this man in my life.
No, you're not supposed to. Unless you're like a super... Again, when I read this in the 90s, I was like, I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, unless you're Kurt Busiek, basically.
Yes.
So issue 6 here, we have the Squadron Supreme. They're going to testify to Congress that the Avengers are fakes. They're doing a little press conference on the news. Thor's yelling at the TV, and Captain America says, like, hey, pipe down, I'm trying to listen. And then Hawkeye explodes the TV with an arrow. What the hell, man? Why did
I'd love to know what their TV budget is and what that part of their charter is.
For real.
Right? Tony Stark's like under his Iron Man armor, like, Tony Stark thinks you should stop blowing up televisions all the time. Yep. You told me to say this.
Yep. Hawkeye says they should fly to Washington to slap the Squadron Supreme around. And Captain America's like, not an option. That's only going to escalate the problem. And Hawkeye says, hey, man, you got to respect my opinions. I used to lead an Avengers team, man. And Captain America's like, we need to talk privately. So they go off to that. Wanda and Carol have a little girl talk. And Wanda's like, Carol, should you be drinking so much? And Carol laughs it off.
She's like, drinking alcohol is actually better for me than eating ice cream, which you're doing.
Yeah, it's going to hit your hips, and I'm going to be looking good, and you're going to be fat, Wanda, which is a mean thing to say. Captain America and Hawkeye clear the air a little bit, and then they decided that everyone's going to head towards Project Pegasus in the Quinjet, which we'll learn more about them. But on their way there, Captain America wants to discuss Miss Marvel's powers. I wrote down Warbird, but I just can't say it anymore. Captain America wants to discuss Miss Marvel's powers. Carol says, hey, this is a man trying to keep me from thinking independently. I should decide when it's best time to use my best powers. Captain America starts to say something, but Iron Man puts a hand on his shoulder and says, not right now. Not the right time. I'll talk to her later. I think I know what's going on. So they arrive at Project Pegasus, which is some energy group, and they request landing. And the voice on the intercom is like, I guess we can do that. And they're like, what? Weird. The project administrator is Andrew Kappelhoff, who instantly looks evil. We have the security director, who's some superhero named the Blue Shield. Never heard of this guy. But the Avengers want to check out this place to figure out why the squadron might be lying. And the Blue Shield is like, they'd never lie. We've known them for a long time. Actually, we don't even trust y'all.
I do like they're like, show us all the people who have I don't know, mind control powers that this could be behind it, and they do show who it is.
Yes, they do. They do. But before they even gain that trust, though, there's a scene where Carol recognizes one of the guards from when he like used to be stationed at the Avengers Mansion or something. And she's like, "Hey, I remember when you tried to fingerprint me, and I told you what I'd do to you if you didn't let go of my wrist." And the guard is like, "Okay, yeah, I remember that. I confirm it's them. They're the real Avengers." um, and they have lots of projects here. Yeah, Dr. Rivera is cataloging all known parahumans to exist, which sounds like something Kurt Busiek would do. I think this is his stand-in here. And he says, yeah, everything you want to see. What do you want to search for? And they're like, yeah, show us all people, all criminals who can influence minds. And they get a list, and they're like, this list is too big to look at. Let's keep going. And the Avengers are rummaging through the Squadron Supreme's rooms because, like, I guess the Squadron Supreme has been living there while they've been stuck on this universe. And they show up again, and they're pissed. But some of their friends here called them, include them in. And Captain America's like, Wanda, I need you to summon Simon again. And so she does, and it's even easier than it was last time.
Oh, notice how Wanda does use her OP powers when Captain America asks.
Yes, I thought about that as well. She's not, she'll just go with it. But she does feel bad about it. She's like, it feels like Wonder Man is like an enslaved genie that I'm letting out. And it's just weird. But everyone pairs off and fights. I do like the pair between Skylark fighting Captain America. And Skylark is like, why are you and I fighting? And Captain America is like, well, I used to fight Nighthawk because he was like my equal. But Nighthawk died. And so I guess you and I are fighting. And Skylark is like, yeah, I used to always fight one of the girls on the team. But you wouldn't remember that because you're a fake. It's only just very fun.
It's pretty good.
Yep. Miss Marvel's looking a little shaky up there, so Captain America helps her out by ricocheting one of Skylark's beams to help her. And Carol does not like that. She's like, "Butt out of my fights." And he's like, "We're a team. We're literally fighting as a team." Wanda is fighting Moonglow, but she can feel something wrong about her magic, so she manages to like reach through the magic and fix the Squadron Supreme, who we all realize had been mind controlled. But the blue shield shows up behind her, knocks her out from behind, and then that wicked-looking Kappelhoff orders the Squadron Supreme to take down the Avengers. This guy, it's him. He's got mind control powers. And Hawkeye fires an arrow through an image inducer he was wearing to reveal that it's the Corruptor, who we just saw on the search results, and still nobody remembers. Not
the purple man, the blue guy.
Not Faustus. Guy that kind of looks like Nightcrawler.
He does kind of look like Nightcrawler.
Yeah, he looks like kind of Nightcrawler and the purple man kind of together.
And we learned that Carol felt something about him not being right and scanned him with their tech scanners and told Hawkeye where to shoot, which seems a little convoluted, but whatever.
There was she had a big thought bubble. It was a big exaggerated question mark. So you did see that she was questioning that it was that guy was who that he said he was. And yeah, she's like, oh, I saw he was testifying in Washington. So I knew he should have come back with the squadron or whatever, but he was here. So that doesn't make sense.
Interesting. Later, they use Moonglow's mind control powers to scan him. We know he's working for someone, but we can't tell who. Captain America tries to have a little talk with Carol. He's like, hey, if there's something wrong with your powers, then I have to know. And she says, you're just looking for an excuse to get me off this team. It's not going to work. And she flies away. And all the rest of the Avengers are like, what's going on with her? But that's it for the main story. Our cliffhanger is the dude in the shadows is revealed. It is a first name I have never seen in my life. Imus? I-M-U-S? Emus?
Yes. Don Imus Champion.
This guy lives in a big, industrial-looking building with a C on it. He has an Ultron head for an ashtray, and he has a giant one-eyed fish living in a globe-shaped tank. I like this guy. Why has he not been in comic books more?
He's also like 7 feet tall. So.
Oh my God, great! And then the captions acknowledge, "Hey, we know you don't know this guy. Don't worry, it's going to be in the next issue." And we're like, "All right, cool." And
which is an annual. Thanks a lot, Marvel. I did not read that next issue when it first came out.
Yeah, plus the next issue of Avengers is apparently like a little mini event that goes through like Iron Man and
Live, Kree, or Die.
Yes, yeah, it's a Kree alien storyline that I think is in all the Avengers related books. They went 6 issues without any crossovers.
And then instantly, yep. I think there was also a Thunderbolts crossover eventually in this thing that I do remember reading. But
I know the Avengers show up in Thunderbolts.
Yes, that happens for sure. This just makes me want to read more Thunderbolts too. All right, final thoughts.
We're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there. Kurt Busiek's Avengers. What'd y'all think, Vince?
I think it's pretty good. George Perez. I like his art. It looks a little Mark Bagley-ish in points, which kind of threw me. But I think overall it's good. I think now with 9 years of doing this show, I actually know most of the characters. So I'm glad we held on to it until now. It's a pretty good Avengers book. I think it's weird that, like, we talked about this with the Captain Marvel relaunch, to like instantly do like an alternate universe story while trying to establish a relaunch. I think is a weird choice. And just like structurally. And then I think the Avengers having like charter members and like how many members they're allowed to have on their team is a very, very dumb concept. However, if they said like we can only afford 7 FTE, then I would have been fine. So but they didn't. So I was like, well, who gives a shit? Just have another cast member. It doesn't fucking matter. And we have 2 reserve members. Like, this is bullshit. This is stupid. I don't care. But I know people do. So I'll retract that. And then the Squadron Supreme was here. I feel bad that I've forgotten most of the Squadron Supreme, considering how much time we spent with them. But overall, it was good. Perez's art was good. Busiek writes a good story. I like this pretty well. I don't know if I'll read more of it. It was very dense. Very
dense.
Yeah.
Chris, how about you?
I really like it a lot. And it's fun to go back to again. And this is what made me an Avengers fan in the first place. Because I was basically just reading X-Men before I started reading this. And I do think, I've been playing a bunch of Baldur's Gate 3 and Dungeons and Dragons and just have that on the brain. But I do think there's an element of like Kurt Busiek and Perez too, because he draws really dynamic fight scenes. He understands like how to sort of lay things out where you do have, Scarlet Witch is literally summoning Wonder Man. Like, it's a spell slot that she can use to like, all right, bring this guy into the fight. So it feels very sort of gamey in a way, but in a way that's good. That I think he does, or they both do, because I think Perez is contributing a lot to it. There's so many subplots. A lot of them do go somewhere. A lot of them are very obvious where they're going, but it's also, it's a comic book that 13-year-old me was reading. So I think I saw where some of them were going, but I don't think I totally understood where like Carol's subplot was going right away because I was a child. So it's like in hindsight, you're like, yes, it's pretty obvious. But you have to understand that at least some of your audience in the 90s was still not going to be 30-year-old adults.
Yeah. I'd say I agree with everything y'all said, I really love it. I just like Busiek's very classic style. I think he's one of the best at doing just kind of like almost like the definition of comic books. Like these comics are very much just like standard comic books done well, and I think especially during this era with the Thunderbolts and this, he was just on fire for me. And I'd never read his I've read some of the stuff from his Avengers run here and there, but I think this, like, it feels different enough from his Thunderbolts run and just does a good job of bringing a ton of people into the story and giving them little moments here while still letting you know who your stars are, which is a nice balance. So I really liked it. I'm actually kind of tempted to keep reading a little bit more of this. It won't happen because it won't happen, but I'm tempted, and that's something. But I think that's it. Plus, I want to know who this Imus champion is. Who has a name like Imus? Who is it? I don't know. But I think that's it. Anything else to say about the Avengers before we jump to Earth X here? We're going very long. Let's do it. Let's just go straight to it.
Yeah.
Earth X number 11.
Oh yeah, a bunch of things happen. The skulls.
I gotta go to bed. All right. Reed Richards is talking to Uatu in this little beginning text stuff here. He's accepted the Earth is going to blow up.
They really hate each other too.
They hate each other. Oh, it's actually kind of neat to see Uatu as like treated like a genuine villain. But he's accepted this is the Earth's fate. But he's talking to Uatu like, hey, the seed is sentient. Like it knows things that you don't, man. You're blind. Sue tried to tell me everything that I was studying forever is just the surface, and that's all you've been seeing. And he was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, man, of course you don't understand. You're blind. He's like, you become a sentimental fool, Richards. And he says, I think I know how to stop you. He says, there's one person on Earth who can see what we would be like without powers. Tell me about Alicia Masters. So our history starts about her? And Uatu's kind of intrigued that he's asking about her. Like, she doesn't have anything to do with anything. I'm curious why you're asking about her, so I'm going to tell you about her. And he talks about her stepdad, the high evolutionary, Herbert Edgar Wyndham.
So no, that's not her stepdad.
Not stepdad, really.
That's the guy who he then is in the mountains or whatever, and then her stepdad uses the clay from the mountains to make mind control puppet stuff.
I see. Okay. And this guy, took Alicia's dad's life, and very weird. And Alicia also was blind, but like maybe she had powers. Maybe she could see inside people because she always seemed to like see the truth in people. Maybe she had two celestial seeds inside her, and this later one just germinated, but the other one germinated earlier. It's possible she had twins, so that's two. That's a two thing, right? Right, Uatu? And she saw the love in Norin Rad, the Silver Surfer. And Uatu's like, how did that guy get powers? And Reed's like, he must have had a seed too. His whole planet must have had a seed. That's why Galactus came to aid it. That's why Galactus came to aid our planet. That's why you wanted me to stop him with the ultimate nullifier, because you're protecting this damn egg.
That's cool. That is cool.
It is cool. It is cool.
That part is really cool. The idea that Galactus is not the villain.
No, he's the good guy.
Yeah,
or at least neutral. Yeah,
neutral. I mean, it still ends with the destruction of Earth.
The celestial thing.
Either way.
And then Reed is like, well, shit, I turned Galactus into a star. And Uatu's like, you turned him into a star? And he's like, yeah, in my Fantastic Four issue, he became a big hit. No, that's not what he says.
He's signing autographs left and right.
Yeah.
Every airport in
straight to eBay from Galactus. So Skull is now holding a rally in NYC. He's coming up with a name. He decides on Planet Skull. Hide your daughters. This is Planet Skull. Iron Man is safe in his machines. They're watching this on the news. Jean and Logan are watching this on TV as well. Logan, we haven't seen him in a bit. He's fat, sitting on the couch watching TV. And Jean's like, wouldn't hurt you to get involved. And she decides she's packing up and leaving. Logan's not the man she married. Logan's like, you're going back to your Summers boy. And she's like, hey, I've been wanting to own up to this for a while. I'm not Jean. I am Madeline. Bye. Which is, what a fuck you, man. That sucks.
A fuck you to the reader.
Yep. A little bit.
Everyone.
A little bit. Peter wakes up Captain America in an alley. Peter saved him. He kind of dragged him out to safety. Peter is dressed in the costume shop Spider-Man outfit that he found. And Captain America's like, yeah, I thought you quit being Spider-Man. Maybe you should have.
So the two options for
a lot of body shaming of Peter Parker.
Yeah. No, well, and Wolverine. Like the two options for older male hero are fat or crazy beard. Those are your options.
Or toga.
Or toga.
Yes, that's
or
it.
DH to a child, I guess, who still hasn't factored in a while, but that's
that's him. And Spider-Man has a nice little thing here where he's like, all these years I thought that great power brought responsibility, but it's the other way around. Responsibility brings power. Knowing what needs to be done brings strength and courage. I gotta go save my daughter. And you know what? I thought that was sweet for an old man who knows he doesn't have the strength anymore, but kind of has to do what he's got to do. Very neat. They go to see Ben. Ben who? Oh, Ben Grimm. Sorry, we're just talking about Spider-Man, so I got very confused. They go to see The Thing with Spider-Man and Captain America. And The Thing is very disappointed to see Spider-Man. He says, I thought Reed becoming Doctor Doom was as bad as things could get. So what, you were bitten by a radioactive spare tire? Great stuff. Good job, Thing.
Rude.
Yeah. Captain America has a plan, though. He says the Skull is not going to be able to control Alicia's clay puppets, the clay marbles that she made. So they're going to attack with those. We see the Celestials. They're landing on the moon. And Reed asks the Watcher, hey, why does your race watch for the Celestials at all? And he says, well, we're bound to the Celestials because of a moment of indecision that occurred long before your universe existed. I kind of want to know that story. Does that exist anywhere? I'm curious now.
I bet it's very long. It takes a long time to get to the point.
I was going to say, there's Universe X and Paradise X to find out.
Oh, yeah, I bet it's those. Then we have Black Bolt. He's fighting the Celestials, flying around them kind of like a fly. He gets swatted down to the moon. Jameson's wife and kid, the werewolf's wife and kid go flying up because it's the moon. But Machine Man saves them with his long arms. He pulls them back. I'm so glad Machine Man got to do something. It was so nice.
He didn't even get blasted by Sydney Sweeney's webs or anything.
Nothing like that. He just got to do a cool thing, and he was cool. Let's see. Reed remarks that Black Bolt is now fighting for all the people of Earth who are his people. They're all Inhumans. The Skull is fighting off all these clay soldiers. May is there. She's talking to her dad. Can't control her body, but she's saying, it's okay, Dad. Do what you have to do. The symbiote will cushion the blow, which I think is also kind of, I don't know. Go ahead and punch me, Dad. I don't know. Weird. Daredevil jumps at Hulk because he is excited to be the first one to die. That's all he wants to do. Spider's Man makes the Thing see the Human Torch dying, which makes him sad. But one of the X-Men recruits rips off Spider's Man's cloaks. I put too many S's in there. Rips off Spider's Man's cloak. And Spider's Man is kind of horrifying underneath. Really just looks like his face kind of all over, like red scales. He says, don't look at me. And then the Thing grabs a hold of the recruit and holds onto his legs and doesn't let him move. He's like, sorry, kid, I think the Skull's got a hold of me. The Skull yells for everyone to wipe them out, and another clay marvel comes up right behind the Skull and grabs him. It's a Captain America.
See, a clay statue hero like Vision. This is exactly
exactly like that.
Did you recognize who this was, right, Vince?
I did. Well, when the clay came off, then I'm like, oh shit, that's Captain America.
The Skull wipes the mud off, and he's like, oh, you're the real one. And Captain America says, I'm sorry I failed you. And we don't see exactly what Captain America does, but all the fighting stops and the Skull is laying on the ground. So, yeah. I feel like the Skull could have gotten off some mind control. There was enough time there. Yeah. He recognized it. Cap said a quote. Really got to go straight for the kill, Cap.
And then you say your one-liner.
Yes. Or it starts snowing, and then you say your one-liner, where Daredevil says, maybe it's not a total loss after all, which I think was kind of cute. They did win. This guy just wanted to die. I like him. Reed, that sounded suicidal. It's a cute character is what I meant to say. Reed video chats with Tony then and says to him, hey, I found out where our ideas come from. We've been saving the world, but for the Celestials. And he's telling him about how they're on the moon. Tony says to Vision, hey, leave me be. Take the Iron Avengers plans and rebuild if you have to. And then Reed gives him a very sweet goodbye, saying, hey, I always looked up to you for such a long time. Even heroes can have heroes. There's so much I want to tell you, not about the Celestials or about heroes, but just about being men and living our lives. While he's talking, Tony is waking up this giant mech that he's been living in. And he is flying it. He's taking it off into outer space. And he says, leave it to the billionaire to buy the Earth some more time. And that's where this issue ends. Although I did also really like the appendix this time. I didn't take a lot of notes on it, but it is just Reed and Uatu still talking.
Reed going at Uatu some more.
They've got a good rapport with each other, and they have so much history that it's I really liked these. My favorite part of all this was when they were like talking about the Skrulls, and they said like, yeah, when the Super Skrull came down, he didn't have to copy your powers, Reed. He had to copy your family's powers, but they already could shapeshift. Like they could already, change what they look like. You're a special human because your powers were so far above everyone else's. You like achieved the heightened form that the Skrulls had already achieved, which is kind of cute. There's something sweet about that almost, as antagonistic as the whole scene is.
Yeah, it is weird when Uatu is like, yeah, the Skrulls have achieved like diversity of powers, the very thing Captain America has been fighting for. And you're like, that's a weird way to phrase that. Like, I don't know that diversity of superpowers is what Captain America believes.
Yeah. But yeah, we're getting very close to the end. That was another good issue, I thought. Not like a great issue, but there was some fun stuff in there, and it's all coming together. What'd y'all think?
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that the Red Skull's jobbed out. That's kind of more what I'm more interested in, and I think the Galactus revelation I think is cool.
You using more wrestling terminology there, Vince?
What did I just say?
You're getting jobbed out.
Yeah, Red Skull's jobbed out.
Oh, it's just permeating my world. I didn't even know.
Yep. Now you know. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, the Red Skull should have been like Miro and just disappeared for a few months and not appeared in the book anymore.
Yeah, that's good. And then show up whenever.
Yeah. Oh, I've been injured. Sorry, I couldn't be in this.
Couldn't make it. Sorry.
It feels like the Winter King getting killed in Game of Thrones, like 3 episodes before the end. Like, wow, that was the one I was more interested in than whatever else is left. Okay.
Yeah, I do, and because they never really explained like what his deal was. Like I liked the Skull because he was. I mean, I recently on it'll come out way in the future. Games my mom found talked about the Sandman issue of Perez. He is like a evil mirror version of Perez in a way.
But I mean, I feel like I know his deal. He's a shithead kid who got the best powers. Like I feel like that's it. That tells you all you need to know about this guy. And you know what? I'm glad he's dead. He deserved to die.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's it for Earth X. Next time, of course, we're going on to issue number 12. How many issues are there? There's
I think there's 13.
I want to say it's 12 and then a finale issue.
Yeah. So issue number 12 and then issue number X, which can stand for any number. I wonder if they wrote that one first and then just didn't.
Because I think it's 14 total issues with the issue 0 we've already done.
0. Yep.
Yeah.
And then our main read next time is going to be some Dragon Ball. We're turning into some real manga freaks over here. But we are doing Dragon Ball for a specific reason. Akira Toriyama, the creator, passed away recently here. This thing started way back in 1986, one of the most famous manga animes of all time. So we're just going to go back to the very beginning, read the very first volume of the original Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z.
Not GT, not Super.
I don't know what any of it is. I'm just doing Dragon Ball, 1986, Volume 1. I don't know how big it is. I don't know nothing about it. We're reading that. So that and Earth X number 12. Make sure you join us for some very interesting manga history. Probably. I assume it's interesting. I could be wrong. See. We've got... that's it for next time. Oh, it's the plug section. Chris, what do you got to plug? What's going on with you?
Well, it came out last week, our episode of Madam Web. I don't know what's going to be out the week after this comes out, but that was a lot of fun to talk about. It's almost 2 hours long. We discuss all the great plot points of Madam Web. We talk all your favorite characters. We mentioned Julie Carpenter Spider-Woman, but there's also Maddie Franklin Spider-Woman. Yeah. There's also Anya Corazon.
Oh, yeah.
There's also...
How could it go wrong? This all sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also Ezekiel Sims from the Spider-Man storyline with the vampire guy, Moreland. But anyway, we talk all about that and what happens and how it doesn't really make any sense, and it's unclear whether they had the rights to the Spider-Man name or not. Very strange book.
What about, did they have the right to Spiders Man? Somebody should make a Spiders Man movie. I love that guy.
They should have had the Spiders Man.
That would be hilarious if you made a Spiders Man movie but didn't mention Spider-Man at all. Just like they did with
that would be the ultimate form of, after Craven and Madam Web and everything else.
And Morbius,
Spiders
Venom.
Yeah. That we should mention, that's the Your Stupid Minds podcast. I don't think I said it. I don't think you said it. Yes. So if you want to know where to find it, Your Stupid Minds. Vince, what's going on?
Nothing on it. Nothing's going. Oh, did I mention I was on Super Switch Heads a couple weeks ago? I don't know if that had been recorded by this time. I was on Super Switch Heads a couple weeks ago talking about Mario versus Donkey Kong, the Game Boy Advance remake on Switch.
Yes,
okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's my most recent podcast guest episode that I've been out on. Kia, what's up with you?
Nothing.
Cool.
Yep. I'm trying to think. Is there anything interesting? Rained here a lot. Playing some Tales of not Berseria. I like that one. Tales of Arise. It's good stuff. Brotato still almost done with all the characters.
Nice.
And then rain and work. That's it. That's all I'm dealing with. Rain and work. But that's it, everybody. We're gonna end the show, and I'm gonna go to bed. Vince, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Chris, I love you.
I was disassembled and put back together. I have no emotion for you, Kia.
Oh,
wow.
No, that's sad.
Wow. Listener.
But you can't see secretly as you walk away. I'm like, oh, if only I could say something.
Listener, I don't even have the heart to tell you I love you. I got no love left in me. My heart broke.
Oh.
Broke as a joke.
All right.
Vince, end the show.
I'm cutting it now.